Cult is defined by Webster as a great devotion to a person, idea, object, movement, or work, such as a film or book. Throughout the real world, many cults arise that ease the individual's fears and create a sense of belonging. These factors can be evident in younger people. In this story, high schoolers. This gives us a bit of insight into why these girls are chanting murder while walking down the stairs in a train station. They talk among themselves, saying, "I guess it's time then." Along the edge, they hold hands, enjoying all the attention they're receiving from onlookers. They said they're going to be even more surprised after this. They count to 3. As the train is approaching closer with each number on 3, they jump in front of it. It appears to be a mass suicide. However, one girl survived, as the panel shows her standing among the dead bodies. A month later, Saya is on the roof crying, cutting herself, saying, "Mitsuko." Kyoko tells her to stop this, but she doesn't understand why they jumped in front of the train. Saya responds that Mitsuko said, "Let's all die together." She questions why she was the only one who didn't die, while the other 53 girls did. Kyoko is tired of Saya talking about Mitsuko, and she'll be sad if she dies. Saya warns her, saying if she badmouths Mitsuko, she won't forgive her. Kyoko went to the roof in the first place to give her a diary. They exchanged over the years that healed their friendship. They had been friends since elementary school. They would express their feelings directly. Kyoko liked Saya more than anyone else. In their second year of middle school, Saya's father had a mental breakdown and had to be hospitalized. As things got complicated at home, Saya began to change. She began to sell her body for money. Kyoko confronts her about this and tells her to stop. Saya responds, "In that case, just give me money." Saya constantly listened to self-mutilating musician. Then she began to draw disturbing pictures in her diary. Then Saya met Mitsuko, telling her that she doesn't have to worry about anything. Saya would fill the diary with stories about Mitsuko and how she was amazing. When Mitsuko smiled at Saya, Saya felt at peace. Although Saya continued to sell her body, she looked happy. Chapter 2. It starts with an unknown man scrolling through this rumor website and clicking on this thread. They're talking about Saya, how she's selling her body for her father's sake. The scene changes to a classroom. The guy from earlier is actually the teacher. During lunch, girls are whispering, wondering why Saya was the only one who survived, and something is different about her. They go up to her. One girl grabs Saya by the hair, accusing her of forcing her boyfriend to buy these nude pictures of her. But Saya claims that she did not receive any money from him, and 3 university students forced her. The girl does not take that answer and slaps Saya. On the ground now, the girl tells her, "It would have been better if you had died." Next, Kyoko is walking around school. Someone posted Saya's nudes everywhere for some reason. The teacher is sitting in the restroom with these photos. Kyoko is with Saya, telling her that the boy was in the wrong because she made her into the perpetrator. Saya said it's alright. She doesn't feel pain or happiness. Nothing at all since Mitsuko isn't around anymore. She lost connection to herself. She understands the relationship between her father and Kyoko, but what about her relationship with herself? Mitsuko helped her understand herself. Now that she has lost that, it doesn't matter what happens to her. Kyoko doesn't understand. Saya says it's because she hasn't lost herself. She is envious of her, but just ends it with, she will understand anyway. That day, Saya's notebook was filled entirely of black ink. Chapter 3. The girl bullying Saya was found dead. A man and Kuroda think it's another suicide. Investigators. They made a connection. The girl's uniform is the same school Saya attends. The text below says, "Mitsuko has awakened." At school, they tell the students about the girl, Satoi Takuda, the bully, who died, and that their lives are gifts from their parents. The panel shows Saya. Below says, "It seems Mitsuko still hasn't realized that she has awoken yet." It transitions to these girls talking about Takuda and how she bullied Saya yesterday, and they think there's something special about Saya and that she's amazing. In gym class, the teacher gets on to Saya for not participating. Saya says that her body's just too weak. The teacher responds, "That's no excuse." The classmate jumps in, telling the teacher to stop bullying. The other students agree with her and they all gang up on the teacher, saying, "You want us to lodge a complaint about this?" She backs off. The weird teacher from earlier is back on the rumor website. One person is talking about Saya and how it's not normal for her to survive an oncoming train. Maybe she has powers? Another said that they felt an immediate sense of peace when looking at Saya. After the incident with Takuda, several girls began to hang around Saya and she stopped walking him home with Kyoko. Saya's expression stayed dark and depressed, but a faint spark returned to her eyes. Kyoko didn't see her for one and a half months until the following semester. In their second year of middle school, Saya was scared that Nostradamus, the great king of terror, would descend upon Earth. She continued to cut her wrist and would draw countless eyes in her notebook. But at the same time, Kyoko was happy when she discovered the opposite sex for the first time. As a result, Saya became alone. Saya is sitting on a swing set when a girl approaches her, saying she looks like she is suffering and that she She knows a person, Mitsuko. The girl reaches out, her arm has cuts. 2 months later, Kyoko's love ends and that she needs Saya again. But there's no space in Saya's heart for anyone else besides Mitsuko, and her smile returns. Kyoko felt something was wrong with Mitsuko's club. Every morning they would walk Mitsuko to her school. Saya would come late to school because of this. Then after classes, they would go to Mitsuko's school's roof to do club activities with students from different schools. School. Mitsuko tells her club members, let's embrace our hatred and sorrow by cutting our wrists, because people can't see the scars in their hearts. They should express their suffering physically. They all begin to do this. Mitsuko says they are all wonderful children, her lovely children. Another day, they tattooed each other's ears with the same mark. They all hold hands on the edge of the roof. Mitsuko has a speech saying everyone imagines what death is like. For normal people, it's probably frightening. But for people whose lives are far more painful, for us, death is happiness. They were the Suicide Club. Saya started selling her body more frequently. One day, Kyoko pleads with Saya to stop it. Saya is like, Mitsuko is happy with her. Kyoko begs her to stop hurting herself. Saya reassures her that she's happy and why is she crying? And it says she can't be helped, and calls Kyoko useless. She didn't save her. Saya was scared of Notre Dame. Kyoko just laughed. Mitsuko really listened to her. As Kyoko heard those words, she gave up. Maybe if she tried to talk to her some more, Saya might have left the club. Chapter 4. After 1.5 months of their summer holiday, many girls were around Saya. After school, Kyoko goes up to the roof and sees the girls crying around Saya. Saya tells them it's alright to cry. Your pain is my pain. She'll take all of it. Kyoko says those eyes aren't Saya's anymore. That weird teacher, Takeuchi, walks up behind her and says that there are Mitsuko's, isn't it? Kyoko asks him what he knows about Mitsuko and what's going on with Saya. Takeuchi walks away, saying if she wants to learn more, come to his place at midnight and he'll teach her slowly and not to tell her family. They'll just worry. Weird. A girl behind her opens the door and takes a picture of the interaction. After hesitating a little bit because Takeuchi might be some pervert, Kyoko goes. While taking the train, she sees a little girl by herself. The little girl asks who Kyoko is and if she's getting along with herself. Kyoko starts to think. Then the little girl appears in front of her laughing and then disappears. Kyoko thinks it may have been a hallucination or a ghost, but she looks like Saya when she was little. Kyoko gets to Takeuchi's apartment. She sits on the futon. He suddenly asks her to take off her jacket, but she's like, nah, it's alright. He reaches over to her and turns on his computer, teasing her a little bit. Takeuchi shows her the website, rumors.com, where like the name suggests, you find rumors. He clicks on a thread about the Suicide Club. They have posts related to mass suicide at the Shinjuku train station. They even got photos of Saya, of her in the nude. The guy who posted them says that he met Saya through a telephone club. They went to a hotel, he took pictures of her, but she seemed weird. He told her that he'll leave to get money, but he went home instead. Takeuchi says that looking at her injuries, that's why she needed Mitsuko. Then moving over to another thread, she became a focus of the occult, where they talk about their experience after encountering Saya. Like one talking about how she doesn't feel miserable anymore after finding Saya's picture online. Takeuchi explains that Saya's miraculous survival and the wounds all over her body began to spread through the internet. It caused other girls who have been hurt to worship her. Basically, Saya became the messiah who will save this sick world. Kyoko thinks that it's her fault Saya became like this. Instead of supporting her, she was completely wrapped up in her own happiness. Takeuchi says Mitsuko was like Saya, a child with darkness in her heart. He was her counselor at Ida Middle School. She had no friends and everyone was afraid of her. She turned her hatred against everyone. During the summer of her 3rd year of middle school, she changed. Mitsuko was nice to him because she joined a club. She couldn't reveal much of the club besides it was with 3 girls from another school. Takeuchi thought everything was alright, but in October the 4 girls attempted suicide. Kyoko recalls that incident, and one of the girls miraculously survived. So the one who survives was Yoko Suzuki. At that point, Yoko wasn't Mitsuko yet. Takeuchi went over to the school where the club was based to investigate. There was a lot of confused rumors, but he was able to put things together. The club leader was Keiko Oda, but later changed it to Mitsuko. Yoko, the sole survivor, went to Miwa High School. The students began to spread rumors and idolize her. Then, Yoko changed her name to Mitsuko. It's like what Saya is doing now. Kyoko realized that Mitsuko spreads. Takeuchi also found another website that has the same mark tattooed on Saya's ear, but this website only works at midnight. The website shows people who died in these suicide pacts, posting a day after saying messages like, "I'm so glad that I could die. Thank you very much." From what Takeuchi found, there's 150 names here, basically a thread for the dead. Takeuchi thinks this might be a practical joke, but there's too many strange things. Some were written before Satomi Takuda died, and others before the incident at Senjuku Station. Kyoko points out that there should be more than 56 names. Takeuchi responds, what if Keiko Oda was at another club before, and another Mitsuko there, and another before that? Any number of years or decades, this suicide contagion Mitsuko could have been repeating. If the club was 2 people, it wouldn't have been widely reported. 2 girls attempted suicide again, but 1 survivor wouldn't make big news. But Yoko's club was too big. The shock of people jumping in front of an oncoming train, with the increasing internet usage and her pictures in one summer, Saya's club became as big as Yoko's. Takeuchi thinks Saya will commit a mass suicide, but doesn't know if she's near that point yet. Kyoko thinks why she didn't ease Saya's pain and take it upon herself. Outside of Takeuchi's apartment, they're talking about Saya being a good person and how she was there for Kyoko when her parents and her brother died. Apologizes to Takeuchi for thinking that he's a pervert and calls him a great teacher and walks off. The same girl from earlier is taking pictures of this interaction. Chapter 5. Now Saya's on the roof with her followers, telling them that they're going to tattoo each other's ears with the same mark as hers. This will tie them together, and says, "What has your mother done for you? Did your father listen patiently to what you had to say?" And with that, each prick of the needle banish one of your painful memories. All of Saya's followers are in a line, and they hand her a gift. The first one is Nami, who hands her money. Saya isn't satisfied with the money, saying, "You only love me this much?" She's like, "No, you know what? I'm happy even if you do love me this much." The girl panics, saying she'll work harder. Saya smiles at her. "You're a good person, Nami." Saya is walking with her group of followers, and Kyoko calls to her, but Saya turns to her, saying, "My name is Mitsuko." Kyoko tells her to listen to what she has to say as a friend. Saya is an object of worship. She doesn't have friends. However, she'll let Kyoko join her inner circle immediately. Kyoko calls her an idiot and runs away. After this, Komori, the girl taking the pictures of Kyoko and Takeuchi, shows Saya one where Kyoko just came out of Takeuchi's apartment. Saya is mad, saying Kyoko was with this man while she was suffering. Even though she put a concerned face today, to make it worse, it was a teacher. Saya recalls that there are many teachers she sold her body to, even the counselor. He couldn't get aroused without sticking a gun in her mouth. Saya wouldn't forgive Kyoko for sleeping with the teacher. This gets interrupted by Komori asking for her payment. In class, Takeuchi calls on Saya to read, but another girl gets up and reads instead. Takeuchi repeats himself, but Saya says, "Who's that? I'm Mitsuko, and please remember that, you filthy teacher." Then he says, "Who are you? Are you Saya Koda, Yoko Suzuki, or Keiko Oda?" naming the past Mitsuko's. Saya froze. Something seemed to have merged inside of her. Her eyes quivered. A momentarily struggle, but it was the last time Saya fought it. She snaps out of it and says, "I hate men like you." The next day, Takeuchi was found floating in the river. The investigator questions if it was really a suicide and thinks that it's disturbing that Saya's club has been holding activities again. Kyoko is crying on the stairs, and Saya walks up behind her, saying, "Are you that sad that Takeuchi died?" She begins to tease her. What was good about him? His face? That can't be. Or, I know, it was his technique. How many times have you had sex with him? Kyoko slaps her and asks her if she killed him. Saya gives her a glare. Then her followers grab Kyoko. The same day, Kuroda is told they got an email containing pictures. They see Saya in it and Takeuchi. A group of girls grab him and throw him over the bridge. After, they start making peace signs to the camera while Saya's in the back. The phone rings. It's Kawamori. Kuroda asks where Saya is at. Kawamori says that something's terrible was going to happen, but won't reveal it until she gets paid for it, and he agrees. Kawamori tells him that everyone's going to jump off the roof shortly, but she's not going to jump too. She'll just pretend to. If she's the only survivor, everyone will make a fuss over her, just like they did to Saya. She'll become the next Mitsuko. She says this while girls are walking up behind her. Being Mitsuko could be profitable to her. They kill her in the middle of her sentence. On the roof, roof, Saya is tattooing Kyoko, telling her that when a group gets too big, someone will betray it. But that doesn't mean she's angry, even though she hates being betrayed. It's a good thing Kamori tried to do, and Saya will be known as the greatest Mitsuko. Now finished with the tattoo, she welcomes Kyoko to the club. Final chapter. Saya is surrounded by girls holding hands, singing woven basket, woven basket. The chicken is in the basket. Kyoko tells Saya that she's joining in too. Saya turns to her saying no, while bodies of dead girls lie around her with the face of Yoko. Kyoko is now on the train and everyone is staring at her with Yoko's face. She hears a voice telling her, "Can you relate to yourself? Since you claim that you can relate to yourself, how can you prove it?" Walking down the street, Kyoko says to herself, "I need Saya. I want her back before me. If Saya isn't there, I can't relate to myself anymore." Just like Saya needed Mitsuko, Kyoko wakes up from her dream and is holding hands with Saya. Saya has Mitsuko next to her, or Yoko, same person, saying, "You're finally awake," and she's Mitsuko. Now she wants to end this life as Mitsuko. They're all standing on the edge of the roof. Kyoko begins to break down, saying it's no good. If Saya isn't there, I can't, no. Saya says to her, "Don't worry, we'll always be together." She chose her to be the sacrifice because she liked her the most. Now Saya and the girls begin to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. They fall, Saya and Kyoko. They talk about embarrassing moments in the past, and a time capsule they buried under the sakura tree, their second year of elementary, and they'll exchange a present when they turn 20. Kyoko put a necklace and a Barbie doll in it that meant a lot to her, and Saya put a crayon drawing of the both of them, holding hands, and a 24 set of crayons. Kyoko was getting scared, and Saya tells her to just talk about happy things. They talked about the foods they liked, the teachers they hated. Kyoko says, if only they could stay like this forever. In the middle of their conversation, Saya's head smashed into the ground. Her neck snapped with a dull sound, and half of her cute face vanished. The investigators show up, but they were too late. Saya is lying smiling. Kuroda doesn't think there's any survivors until Kyoko stands up from the bush. She begins to cry. Saya, Mitsuko has been born, but she herself doesn't seem to have noticed it. I wonder what she'll be like. So here's some information I found. The manga is loosely based off the movie of the same name, Jisatsu Circle, or Suicide Club, tomato tomato, right? The director, Sion Sono, requested Furuya Usamaru to make a manga version of the film. The original plan was to follow the movie to 1-to-1, but Sono said that, "I don't mind if the manga is completely different. I want you to write your own Suicide Club." The only thing he borrowed was the title and the shocking opening scene from the movie, so people can still watch the movie after reading this manga without being spoiled. Furuya only had a month to write this manga. He wanted to write about the darkness that girls these days carry. 2002 was around this time this came out, cutting their wrists, wanting to kill themselves, and pseudo-religious groups and other things like that. To him, Saya is a character that you have to love. Also, check out my other horror videos if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.